If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member today. Members get early access to videos, access to all the stream VODs, and exclusive access to emotes as well. So if you'd like to support the channel, become a member today. Hello, how are you? I am live currently, just so you know.
What's up, Hunter? How are you?
I am doing good. You're not on screen yet, but I will, let me turn the video on here. So how you doing?
Doing all right, man. How you been?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk about the Jubilee thing.
Yes, sir. The Jubilee debate that sort of wasn't, because they only showed 39 minutes.
Yeah, they really cut like everything out. All right, I
Yeah.
can see you on the screen now. So why don't you, if you want, go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know where they can find you. Because I mean, obviously, you know, you were on the other side. You were on the conservative side. So
Yeah. My name's Matt Antar. I was on the Jubilee panel. You can find me youtube.com/@MattAntar. Social media, Mantar NYC, Twitter, Instagram. I'm pretty active on everything.
cool, very cool. Yeah, no, it was a really fun experience. I guess you said you've never done anything like that before.
I haven't done like a full like panel like that. I've done like one-on-one stuff, but I haven't done like a whole panel. I left. I remember leaving the Jubilee studio like feeling great, like feeling like yeah, we like got a lot of good stuff in here. And then I watched the episode the other day. I was like, they cut out almost everything.
I know.
You're not the only one who had gripes about that,
Dude, when I watched it, it was like such a major letdown. I was like, I'm barely even in the video. And one of the comments even said they were like, they must have cut a lot of Hunter out because there's no way he was this uninvolved. And I'm like,
Yeah.
true, man. Come on. I'm always like doing everything I can to get in there. I think it may have
Yeah.
been because I wanted to be short and snappy, and I definitely failed in that regard. I definitely was kind of long-winded because when I get a chance to talk, I want to keep going. So I think that may have resulted in me getting cut more also, unfortunately.
I'm never short and snappy, literally, like ever. Like I like to like expand on things.
Yeah, and
They were like even
yeah.
the sections that they like had me talking. There was like there's a whole bunch of cuts in between shit that I said. So like I'm like you're only getting kind of half of the, but it's all right. It's their thing. They can edit it how they want.
Yeah, it was kind of it sucked for me because I had to realize just like they do not care about making anybody look good. Like they do not care about any of that. All they care about is like get the video.
Yeah, and like that's their shtick. So like whatever, I was still happy to be a part of it. I think there was some good stuff, but
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to like promote somebody else's Patreon, but like there is the full thing in there. So like if people are interested.
Well, that's what I just did. I signed up for the Patreons. And,
yeah, I did too. I was like, I want to see the other stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, now I guess I got to pay for it, which is kind of lame. They should have they should give the people access to the full one or something who've been on it. They should be able to like gift you like a month of free Patreon or something so you can view the full thing.
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, what else do you talk about? You're
I
pretty
talk
conservative,
about
right?
like
So like do you want to maybe delve into that a little more? Like what made you
yeah, I
like,
mean,
become
I'm a former
conservative?
liberal, right? Because that was the panel, right? I'm a former liberal, turned I'm almost shying away from the word conservative now and edging more towards like populist.
Okay.
But certainly I'm more aligned, I think, with some of the right wing right now, the Donald Trumps and the Vivek Ramaswamys of the world, not so much the Nikki Haley, Lindsey Grahams of the world. So because I think there's like a huge divide in the Republican Party right now between like post 9/11 Republicans and post Trump Republicans.
I agree.
I'm definitely in the post Trump Republican camp. I was saying on the episode, they did leave this in, that I wasn't that I actually didn't like Trump during his presidency, and because I was I didn't switch sides until really late 2020, early 2021. Like the election had come and gone already.
Mm.
But yeah, so it was like sort of coming around to being like, hey, that policy wasn't so bad. That policy wasn't so bad either. Like that actually was good, and it was like later on. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll vote for him the next time. Like, what am I going to do?
It's interesting because I feel like we had the reverse thing happen. Like for me, I had already walked away from that stuff. And honestly, I had walked away from all that stuff early 20. It would have been early 2020 also, but
Mhm.
because January 1st was the big one for me. Was to me it was very eye opening, and that like solidified my decision in many
January
ways.
1st of 2020.
Um, or I'm sorry, January 6th. I'm keep thinking I was totally blanking
Oh,
on that.
okay.
On the January
I was
6th.
like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
might
yeah.
be
Sorry,
talking
I was
about.
like, wait, I knew something wasn't clicking there.
Yeah.
January 6th. Yes.
Okay.
Um, did that affect anything for you?
It didn't really like affect anything one way or the other. So I'm not going to be one of these people that's like, no one did any like bad things on January 6th. Like, I'm
Well, I
not going
mean,
to
did
say
it
that.
affect your support for Trump? Because he was pretty yikesy. What happened with that?
Well, so, Trump is Trump and he's going to be kind of brash, but I think, it is interesting that that people are saying on the left that he like incited an insurrection when like, if you look at what he said, he says, we're going to march peacefully to the Capitol. So
That's
like,
not what he said, though. That's not just
he
what he
did
said.
say
What he
that.
no,
He said, he
he said
literally used the
both.
word
Because
peacefully.
the thing with Trump is he does this thing where he'll say both things, so he can always give himself this plausible deniability. But that's not just what he said. He said they're going to take your country, and we need to go to the Capitol, and we need to fight like hell. And when you raise the stakes the way that Trump did by making it seem as though the system is corrupt, even
Hmm.
without deliberately saying you need to go be violent or break into the Capitol or something, the only option is violence. If the system is completely broken and corrupt and against you, how else are you going to overcome that?
I think there's a lot of interpretation in that though. And I was talking to somebody recently. I don't think it was on camera, but I was talking to somebody recently about just literally like the First Amendment and being like, and yes, there's an exception when you call for violence. And I think that there's a lot of people on the left who are like, yes, then he called for violence. And I'm like, I don't know, I
I
don't
don't think
think.
call for violence is the same thing as inciting it. I don't think that he said like you need to go kill people. Obviously, he didn't like incite some or excuse me, call for violence to that extent. But as far as inciting it, yeah, when you rally a bunch of people up, tell them that you need to fight like hell and that the entire system is corrupt, what are the options? And
Well,
then
I
he
mean,
only said be peaceful after shit had gone crazy.
I don't think that's true. I think he said it before people marched out there. I think that
I
was
need to
during
look it
his
up. I
speech.
could be, you know
Yeah,
what? I will be willing to say I could very well be wrong on that. So I need to
it
look it
was
up
during
first.
his speech because he was telling people we're going to march to the Capitol and we're going to, and I may be paraphrasing as well, but we're going to march to the Capitol and we're going to make our voices heard peacefully. Yeah, if he said fight like hell, sure, but a lot of people say fight like hell and they don't mean violence, especially politicians. Like we're going to fight like hell to take our
It
country
wasn't
back.
just that though. I think it was more about his continuation or his continued denial of the election results.
Well, okay, so
I think
that's
that
going to be.
coupled with it, of course. I don't think that was the only
Yeah,
thing, but
yeah. No, I understand that. I understand that he was denying the supposed election results. And before anybody jumps down my throat, I don't have a solid opinion one way or the other. I feel like I was not in the room. I feel like things are corrupt in our government, so that very well could have happened, but I don't have any proof that it did. So just before anybody jumps down my throat, but obviously Trump was of the opinion, and there are others who are of the opinion steadfastly that the election was stolen. And if they're right, that's a big deal.
mhm.
If they're wrong, then why did then what has caused so many people to feel like their voices are not heard? And I'm not saying go do any kind of violence or anything. I think the word peacefully is important. I think you do only have a right to protest peacefully. You don't have a right to do violence. But you know, and it's more than people
Well,
could say, yeah, Trump fomented some of it, maybe, but it's more than just Trump. It's people feel very disenfranchised on both sides, I think.
I think that some people feel like their voice isn't being heard because they're believing lies. Like when they're like, why is my voice not being heard about the election being stolen? It's like it is being heard, it's being taken into consideration, then it's being investigated, and then it's being found that there was not nearly enough election fraud that could actually sway an election. And then
Okay.
people go back to saying, well, maybe the election was rigged. Why is my voice not being heard? It's like, no, because it is being heard. You just don't like the answer.
Right, but I do want to add some nuance to that and say that the investigatory bodies that are looking into corruption within the government are also not trusted, right? So like I said, I'm not going to say an opinion one way or the other because I don't know, truthfully. And I'm going to say
But
I actually
we do know. The thing is, see, like we do know truthfully. Like there has been enough investigation from different organizations, from different entities with different oversight that have all found the same thing: that there was an election fraud or there was an election interference. Then there was an election interference. Even Trump's own guys said this.
well, that's if Trump's guy said it, that's his opinion. I think that there is a lot of first of all, there's a lot of provable election fraud. Whether or not it changed the results, I don't know.
I don't
But
think
there
there's a
is a
lot
lot
of
of
like there was one case or two. There was one where somebody falsely voted for the Republicans twice. But I don't remember
yeah.
where there was actually confirmed cases of like, oops, excuse me, sorry. Damn, that was loud. I don't remember where there were confirmed cases of the election being interfered with or election fraud.
Well, when you have people like for example in Pennsylvania, when you have like people who like suddenly they get all the people watching out of the room and they stop counting for a little while, maybe that's not like smoking gun hard proof, but it's fishy. When you have Maricopa County in Arizona, and I believe this was more so not in 2020, but in the subsequent election, and you have them not being able to get their shit together, and then you have the person running who ended up winning supposedly. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't, but she's overseeing all that and certifying it. People have a lot of questions, and then there's a
But that's
question
the
of, well,
problem is people only have questions and then they never actually look into the answers. Like
because they don't trust the people they're getting the answers
I would
from.
have to look into the specific examples you're giving me because I don't know all of them obviously off the top of my head.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I do know some of them. They're like, remember there were some about like bins of votes. They were like, we saw them picking up bins of votes. And then when you actually read about the process, it was actually just like standard procedure of how they store the votes and then count them normally. Like a lot of the times it's purely ignorance and then people just kind of run away with it from there. They run away from with their imagination.
Yeah, so now you're giving me an example that I haven't looked too far into, so I can't say either way on the bins of votes thing. But
So it's
yeah, I
this
mean,
quote right here, by the way. I finally found it. It was, quote, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. That's a pretty bold thing to tell an audience of angry people who already think their country is being stolen from them after you've been repeatedly refusing to concede the election.
but every politician on both sides uses some form of that rhetoric.
Right, and I
Like
see the
the
other part
Democrats
too,
will be
where
like, "We're going
the
to
other
lose democracy if you vote for Donald Trump."
and
Like, you know what I
just
mean?
to be
Like,
clear, I see the part too where he does say peacefully make your voices heard as well. So this is what I mean though. This is why, because I would have to look back to be sure, but I don't believe I've ever been like Trump 100% incited this. It's all Trump's fault. Like kind of like I think that Trump made it far worse. I don't know if it would have happened without Trump because at least his continuation to deny the election definitely caused a lot of like sowed the seeds of doubt and anger, I think, amongst those people. But he also does do that thing where he'll say both. He'll be like, "Fight like hell, but be peace, but be peaceful, teehee." And then it's kind of like, which one is it? Now he kind of has both. He can have his cake and eat it too.
well, I think I mean again, I want to go back to the rhetoric of like fight like hell, like that rhetoric is just so often used by everyone in politics that I just don't think you can make a jump from that to well, you're the reason that some people did violence. You know what I mean?
I don't
Like,
think that alone. I think that if he was just kind of like minding his own thing and then just said something like that, I would agree with that. And I mean, his lawyer, of course, argued the same thing, right? That he was saying fight figuratively and not actually like physically go and fight or something. But it's not just this. It's a conglomeration of all of his behavior that's the problem in my mind. It's the fight like hell thing on top of the repeated the election is rigged, I was cheated, the American people are being taken advantage of. This kind of stuff angers people. So that's why, again, I don't say he incited it 100%. Like he didn't tell them to go and start doing this thing, but he made it he brought it to that boiling point, I think. Or
Yeah,
at
I
least
mean,
contributed to it massively.
you know, that could be, but ultimately, I don't think he did anything illegal by doing that. And for him to then be censored is, I mean, when he uses rhetoric,
Censored
yeah,
how?
he was knocked off of Twitter.
Well, that's a private company. That's not really censored. Yeah, it doesn't
It
have to
is a
be anything
private
illegal.
company, but it's been revealed since that incident, and in many cases before Elon Musk took over, that the government was speaking with Twitter about what they wanted censored and what they didn't. That's a much bigger issue than
The
Trump January
government
6th.
was not involved when it came to Trump being banned on Twitter, though.
Perhaps, I don't know, but
Trump
the
was the
government was
government.
involved. When the government is involved in censoring speech on social media,
Well, these are two different
then
issues now because that is a problem. You're right. And
yeah.
a lot of the things you're talking about on the surface, at least, I still need to look into it more before I could like actually disagree if I even did. But on the surface, that is a problem. The government shouldn't be involved with that kind of thing. Not always, not necessarily. Again, I need to look into it more. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not what necessarily happened with Trump. So
Well, I don't know. I actually don't know the details of, did Twitter make this decision
Twitter made
arbitrarily
this
by
decision
themselves?
after they reviewed different tweets and they decided amongst themselves that he was inciting stuff, so they banned him.
And we know for a fact that all of the things that the government was doing to try and get Twitter to censor speech, none of that applied to Donald Trump and
I
his
thought
Twitter.
that was only
Do we know
one
that for a
thing
fact?
that wasn't that just one thing that happened with the Hunter Biden scandal.
No, they were censoring what they deemed to be quote unquote COVID misinformation. They were censoring it was a years long thing. Anything that was not in the media narrative, including Hunter Biden, including quote
I
unquote
would need to
COVID.
look into it more and see how exactly that worked
Look
and
at look at
everything.
the
But
the
it's my
release of the
understanding
Twitter
because hold
files.
on, because I went over the Trump thing and no, the government was not involved to my knowledge. If new information's come out, if they know, I'm more than happy to take that back. But Trump was the government. Trump was banned by a private company. That's just not the same argument as Trump didn't do anything illegal, so he shouldn't have been censored. Like this, he doesn't. You don't have to do anything illegal to be censored on Twitter.
Right. I agree with that if Twitter is making the decision entirely on their own with no government interference. And so if that's the case, then Twitter also didn't do anything illegal.
Right.
I think it's bad practice to censor a world leader on a social media platform, but that's not necessarily going to legality of anything. But it's interesting. I will say if it's not illegal, if Twitter made the decision on their own, then fine, it's not illegal, but you have like the Iranian Ayatollah that you don't censor on Twitter, but Donald Trump is too much of a threat. I don't know.
Actually, there was just a new ruling too. I just looked this up. It says U.S. is barred from combating disinformation on social media.
U.S. is barred by whom?
Ruling federal district judge in Louisiana.
Oh, like the U.S. government is barred from.
Yeah, they can't do it. They can't do that anymore. So even if they were doing that,
that's good. So anyway, suffice it to say,
I think that's. Was. I think that I would want to look into it more, but I think that I would be more inclined to agree with this ruling, of course. So, yeah, I don't know. As far as it goes with Trump, though, I don't really think there was much like government.
Let me be clear. Like, if there are voters who don't like him because of his rhetoric on January 6th, that's that voter's prerogative. You know what I mean? We live in a democracy, so fine. I think that I think that the rhetoric that was coming out of the Democrats that day was that Trump, quote unquote, incited an insurrection. And I think that that's, you can say it, but it's loaded language. And I don't think that's true is basically.
Maybe that's loaded language, but I feel like there's so much more substance to what actually happened than just like some people being hyperbolic and saying something, oversimplified. Like, to me, it's just concerning because that combined with his refusal to engage with reality when it came to the election thing, that's really concerning. And then I think I talked about this on Jubilee also. Like, another problem I had with Trump was his whole thing with free speech, with claiming to be really pro free speech, but then wanting to, ban people or fine people. I think he even talked about deporting people if they burned the American flag, which I think is kind of silly. Also, don't get me wrong, but like,
Mhm.
that's obviously protected speech. Like that's obviously protected protest.
Yeah, I
So
agree with you.
so stuff like that to me is concerning as well, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I actually don't have that in front of me, but if Trump wanted to lock somebody up for burning the American flag, I disagree with him on that. I think that that's not okay. I think that it is. I hate that form of speech. I think burning the American flag is a terrible thing to do, but I agree with you 100%. I think that that is protected speech.
So what do you like about Trump then that made you more become more of like a Trump fan?
Yeah, basically my biggest thing that I like about him is his foreign policy. I think that we were in a period of relative peace in the world. I think that he was able to uh, lead the U.S. in such a way that we didn't get ourselves really involved in new wars. When's the last time that happened? Obama got us into like 11 other countries. So I mean, Israel's a hot topic right now, and like Trump's administration, and actually this had a lot to do with Jared Kushner, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but I'll give credit where credit is due.
Hmm.
The Abraham Accords was a very, very big deal in the Middle East, and that was Trump's administration that brokered that. So that's like my top. That's my top, especially considering the fact that like now we're sitting here and we're Biden's all into Ukraine and then he's into Israel and everybody wants to go fight everybody else's wars everywhere, and like that's happening under Biden's administration and none of that was happening under Trump's administration. So that's my biggest like overarching reason why I'm like, and that's why I don't want to support a lot of other Republicans, because Nikki Haley would do the exact same thing.
I
Foreign
can kind of
policy.
see that too. And honestly, like I think I've said too, like foreign policy is definitely not one that I talk too much about. I just feel like even the benefits brought, like if everything you're saying for the sake of argument is correct, then I feel like that's still just outweighed by the negatives. Like, how do you feel
Well, what are
about
the negatives according
well,
to
how do you
you? I
feel
mean, I
about
know
his
you generally
economic
say
stuff? How do you feel about his economic policies? Like the tariffs ended up costing the consumers more money. His tax cuts, for example, although I think sounded really good, like let's incentivize companies to come back, so give them tax cuts, maybe have a trickle down kind of effect. None of that actually worked out. So a lot of the stuff in hindsight, I see an issue with too.
Well, I mean, I think look, I like the idea of cutting taxes, period, right? Like I'm not a big fan of the income tax on people or on corporations. So I'm not going to like I know the argument was like, well, he gave a break to corporations and, I guess people didn't feel like he gave a break to people.
Well, the
Um
corporate breaks didn't end up trickling down to any kind of long lasting benefits for the consumers or for the workers, I mean.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, because I remember that my investment portfolio was way up during Trump's administration, and
That's because the economy was overall better then, but that wasn't because of Trump either.
it may or may not have been because of Trump, but I mean, you got to understand the average voter. I mean, bank account good during Trump, bank account bad during Biden. I mean, like
Yeah, but then
that's
I don't want to believe the average voter's that dumb.
I don't think that that's necessarily stupidity. I
Yeah,
think that
yes it
yeah,
is. When you
no,
look at the unemployment rate under Obama and then into Trump. It was already on like a steady decline. Trump literally just like took over a nice economy already. He didn't do anything that made the economy better. It was actually the Democrat policies, partially, and even more so, a natural thing that occurs, which is just after the recession of 2008, the economy tends to come back stronger after a recession. That's like an economic fact, like a pattern that occurs. So the economy was already booming, doing fantastic. Trump just came along. And that's also why things started to go to hell when COVID struck, even though Trump was still in office too.
well, I mean, I think things went to hell when COVID struck, because and I wish Trump had been, and I always say this publicly, I wish Trump had been much much harder against mandates in the beginning. I really wish he had.
Trump should have been much more serious about COVID in the beginning, with his whole thing, with the whole thing leaking about him lying about knowing the severity of it and then not telling anybody. That was also really concerning to me. I feel like if Biden ever did something like that, conservatives would lose it.
Well, Trump banned travel from China. Now, you can say it was too late. It may have been, but Trump did ban travel from China. He was taking action. What he wasn't doing was trying to a certain degree, and this is where I have disagreements with him. What he to a much lesser degree was putting restrictions on people here at home. So, okay, there's COVID. You ban travel from China. Was it too late? I don't know, but that kind of action was being taken. But he should have been stronger against saying we have to lock down, because that did much more damage to people and families than
I don't
COVID
think
ever
that's
did.
actually true. I think that in certain areas, the lockdowns still had benefits, although it's true that the lockdowns did not work out as effectively as I think we would have liked. But
They didn't
I'm
work
not
at
sure about
all.
that. I think that
The lockdowns didn't work at all.
I'm
They,
pretty
they,
sure that's not true. I'm pretty sure
no,
we can look it up.
there's
I'm pretty sure
per
places.
capita, there's similar death rates in states
I
that
know that
locked down and
schools
states
that
that didn't.
implemented like masks and social distancing had lower rates of COVID than schools that didn't. I know you can look
That's
that one
not
up.
true either. No, that's
That
not true either.
absolutely is true. I'll look it up.
No, it's not true, because first of all, kids don't die of COVID unless they have some serious illness like
It's
leukemia.
not
It
about
just doesn't
dying, it's
happen.
about getting it
Yeah,
or
but you're going to
spreading
get
it or having
COVID.
it be
It's
really
a
severe.
respiratory virus. You cannot avoid getting COVID. Nobody can avoid it unless they're like genetically predisposed to not get it.
What? Yes, you can
It's
avoid
unavoidable.
getting it. I only got it one time, actually.
You only got it once? Yeah, I only got it once too. Right. And then your immune system builds up, and if you get it again, it's a much milder version usually, but
Well,
you
if you're
can't
vaccinated,
avoid getting
thankfully I was
COVID.
vaccinated, so it literally just lasted for it was like 2 days, felt like a bad cold, and then it was gone.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't vaccinated. It was a few days, felt like a bad cold, and it was gone. But I mean, whatever. I just think that I don't think lockdowns work at all, because you can't avoid getting COVID, and
This
therefore
is not true.
you can't avoid it. I know like one or two people, vaccine status irrelevant. I think they both had the vaccine, but I'm not sure. I could check on that. That never got COVID. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, I think they did both have the vaccine and they never got COVID. So yeah, I mean, you could say, oh, that's because of the vaccine, but I know like
Okay, it
15, 20
says,
people who had the vaccine and got COVID.
let me
I
just
know
read this
people
really
who,
quickly. It says, research team at Duke University studied 61 school districts across 9 states, and all the districts had more than 1.1 million students from kindergarten through grade 12. The team recorded more than 40,000 infections acquired in the community and about 3,100 infections acquired in school, compared to optional masking. Mandatory masking was associated with a 72% reduction of in-school COVID-19 cases. School districts with mandatory masking had 7.3 cases of in-school infection for every 100 community-acquired case. Districts with optional masking had 26.4 cases for every 100 community-acquired case. So yeah, it absolutely did work.
so hold on, run that by me again, because I don't have that sheet in
I'll
front of
send
me, and
this
I
to
want to
you.
make sure I hear you.
I'll send it to
Yeah,
you on
send it to me.
the StreamYards thing.
All right, let's take a look at this.
It's by Duke University. Study was conducted when Delta was the dominant variant.
Okay. While masks can prevent individuals from getting or spreading COVID-19, that's not true, but anyway, it can be difficult to assess how masking policies affect virus transmissions in populations. In real-world situations, masking strategies are affected by many factors. For example,
I'm
people
going to
wear
have to
different
ask you to not read it all out loud, please. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I won't. I'm looking at this thing you sent me, and I'm trying to. At a glance.
I would like to know how the masks are not effective at reducing the spread also at some point. I'm very curious on that, because
There
that
is
is
a
just
study
false.
somewhere, and I don't know if I'm going to find it right now, but there was a study somewhere, I believe, that said N95 masking was associated with something like an 11% reduction in virus transmission, and all other types of masks had no benefit.
Which kind of mask? The
The
N1?
N95.
Those were the ones that people weren't getting, like in mass, right?
That's right. People, at least in the beginning, people were wearing the pieces of cloth. They were wearing the blue surgical masks. They were wearing bandanas. They
It's
were
my
wearing all
understanding that
kinds
the
of
way the
stuff.
virus spreads through droplets, that if you have a mask on, that way if you cough or sneeze, it's inevitably going to catch some of those droplets.
It'll catch droplets, but the virus is airborne. It's not just droplets. It's
But
it's
it's
literally
airborne through the droplets. So by having the mask, you cut out how
but it's
many become airborne, thus reducing the spread. Yeah.
no, airborne, like aerosol. Like you breathe on someone without any spit, without any droplets. That will
I
transmit the
don't know if
virus.
that's true. I mean, obviously, I'd have to look it up again, but
It is, I believe, an aerosolized virus. That is what that was the conclusion that they came to.
aerosol
And
particles.
yeah,
Okay, let's see.
I'm looking it up too.
Face masks used to avoid airborne contamination during COVID. Let's see if this works. It is recommended face mask to use used to prevent droplets from escaping. Further clinical trials. Wait, it doesn't tell me?
I mean that's the other
This
thing.
one that I clicked. No. I just clicked one that didn't actually give me a result. That's all.
Yeah, that's fine. No, what I was gonna say though is that there's, this thing is only like what 3 years old. There's
Yeah, but it's
still a
just
lot of
everything
stuff
I'm
that we
reading.
don't
I'm
know.
seeing reputable and scientific sources telling me the opposite of what you're saying. Science right here
But
says
there is no
face
aerosolized
masks
transmission.
effectively limit the probability of SARS-CoV-2 transmission.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the 11% study because that was something that I saw years ago. But I'm gonna have to see if I can find it. 11% reduction.
Airborne transmission by droplets and aerosols is important for the spread of viruses. Face masks are a well-established preventative measure, but their
They're not well
effectiveness
established though. They've never been used before
is
COVID.
still under debate. Wait, doctors put on masks every time they're in the room with a sick person. That is to protect the sick person from them spreading germs.
Doctors don't put on masks before 2020 being in a room with a sick person. They put it on when they do surgery.
Yes, or if they are in the room, like the nurses will be walking around with those masks on in there. It's not just during surgery.
Before 2020, I will tell you, I have been sick in doctors' offices and no one ever wore a mask, ever.
Okay.
I mean, I know that's just my experience, but that's what I can tell you. I never saw doctors wear a mask unless my dentist, when he was like working on my mouth, and I've never had surgery, but I know they wear it during surgery.
It is true that the results are still unsure. Like there have been mixed results.
The bottom line is that this thing is new. I mean, this is what I will say is that masking was considered not effective in spreading of influenza, in preventing the spread of influenza before 2020. There were a lot of studies on that one. There's like a City Journal article or something.
I thought that because of all this stuff, all the social distancing, masking, and taking stuff more seriously when it came to like hand sanitization and whatever, that there were a huge reduction in flu cases during COVID at its peak.
Well, so then that lies the question. If that's true, why? Because I've heard that argument a lot. If influenza, they said influenza has been eliminated because of our masking and our social distancing. So if I take them at their word that that's true, why was COVID-19 spreading like crazy? So does that mean the masks work for flu but not COVID? So then why are we doing the masks?
I think
for
it's going to
COVID?
be based on the size of the droplets I'm looking at.
Okay.
So it says, for example, a single 1 mm droplet may carry as many as 50,000 viruses in the case of a viral load, which is realistic. Such large droplets, however, are very effectively removed even by simple masks and supplementary, which further emphasizes the importance and efficacy of face masks for preventing infections. Because of the strong size dependence and to avoid ambiguities, we suggest that diameter range should be explicitly specified when discussing airborne transmission. Okay, so it sounds like it's going to depend. But if there are going to be different droplets, and we know that masks can be effective to certain degrees, depending again on the size of those droplets with the viral load, then masks are still effective at reducing the spread. It doesn't mean you're just like not going to get it. It's not like it's magic, but it's going to reduce it and lower your likelihood. So that's the benefit right there.
If I'm not going to disagree with you that like droplets like spit, saliva, whatever are prevented by a mask. Of course they are. That's why doctors wear masks during surgery, so that they don't spit in your open wounds. But I think because it's transmitted through aerosols and airborne, that okay, maybe it'll stop it.
That can slow the airborne too. I just read that.
What is it? Say that part again.
Hold on.
Because I don't think that's right.
It says airborne transmission is important for the spread of the virus. Face masks are a well-established preventative measure, but their effectiveness is still under debate. So we show that variations in mask efficacy can be explained by different regimes of virus abundance and are related to the population average infection probability and reproduction number. For SARS-CoV-2, the viral load of infections or infectious individuals can vary by order of magnitude. We find that most environments and contexts are under conditions of low virus abundance, where surgical masks are effective at preventing virus spread. More advanced masks and other protective equipment are required in potentially virus-rich indoor environments. So, yes, masks can be effective in certain contexts. Again, the efficacy of that mask might vary, but the claim that it just doesn't work is untrue.
Well, it doesn't work in that it did not stop the population at large from getting COVID. It just didn't. Most everybody got COVID. Whether or not
it could have slowed it. We don't know how bad it could have been if they didn't do it. I mean, even Sweden, where they had very little restrictions, have come out and admitted that they could have done things better. And if you look at their numbers compared to other countries, they were abysmal compared to other countries that actually had similar populations and actually did mandates and masking.
I have to send you something that I just saw on Twitter, because and I've seen this chart before. Sweden did much better than the UK. They did much better than France. They did a lot better
per
than
capita.
Other
You would need to compare it per capita, not just per
yes,
total
it was
case.
Per capita. Per capita, they did much better than bigger countries in the UK, in Europe. I mean, excuse me.
I would love to see that chart. And then
I'm gonna find it.
I've never seen anything of the sort that has suggested that.
I gotta find it. Give me a minute, because I just saw it recently. But while I'm looking for that, anything else you want to debate?
I want to look this up too now.
Statistic. What is this? Statistia.com.
Yeah, that's the one I usually look at.
Okay, let's see. Incidence of coronavirus COVID-19 deaths in Europe as of January 13, 2023 by country.
That's what I'm looking at, and Sweden is very much on that list at the very top.
I see. Bulgaria, Hungary, Bosnia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Croatia.
Are you looking at a different one than me? What year is this?
January 13, 2023.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, and Sweden's massive.
Hold on. What countries is it between?
Sweden, then next is Finland, then Denmark, then Norway, then Iceland.
Sweden, Finland, then... Okay, hold on. I can search for the word
Finland followed with 8,000.
Sweden's not even on this list. We're definitely looking at two different things. Hold on.
This is deaths in the Nordic countries. I'm not comparing it just like to everything, because I want to see a similar area for more accuracy.
All right, this is Johns Hopkins total COVID deaths. All right, deaths per. Okay, so this is Johns Hopkins mortality. I'll send it to you in the chat what I'm looking at, because this goes beyond Europe.
Okay.
Let's see.
I don't even see Sweden on here.
Yeah, I didn't even see Sweden on this list. it's hard to even
It's
find good
because when you
information.
look at the ones that show Sweden, you see that Sweden had really bad numbers.
Okay, so I'm gonna add Sweden to this. Total COVID deaths per capita in my country, Sweden.
You're gonna want COVID related stuff too.
Right. And forgive me, I can't see if you're like throwing stuff up on the thing. So
No, I'm actually just sitting here. I think we can disagree about the mandates of things if you want, but I don't think that it's fair to make the claim that the masks and whatnot just didn't work, because they very clearly did.
I think if they did, it was so limited that it was not.
No, that doesn't make any
It was
sense
not.
either, because why are the numbers, the differences when you compare are different, are drastic enough so to be statistically significant. So yes, it does mean something. It's not just completely meaningless.
But it is meaningless when it's like, okay, but then everybody ended up getting COVID anyway. Like I said, people,
Well, that's where the vaccine comes in, and I don't think you like that one either.
Well, so okay, I'm assuming you're of the opinion that the vaccine made it so that COVID wouldn't be as serious for those people, right?
It did.
That's your
It
position.
empirically was demonstrated. You could see the rates of people that were in the hospital with COVID compared to not having COVID, or excuse me, with the vaccine compared to not having the vaccine.
The people in the hospital who had the vaccine versus
You
not
could
having
look
the
at
vaccine.
I think it was actually the death rates. I think it was the people in the hospital who hadn't been vaccinated were dying. The people who were in the hospital and had been vaccinated were okay. I would have,
And
like I
what
said, I'd have to
population?
refresh my memory on that. This was like 3 years
Yeah, I
now.
was gonna say, because then you got to think about populations too, because people who are under 65 are just almost never going to die of COVID.
It's not just
So
about death, though. That's a really common thing conservatives say a lot. They're like, well, they're not going to die. Like, it's not just about dying. It's about having the risk of a long-term negative effect happening. It's the risk of spreading it to someone else that might die. There are
but
all
then you
kinds
get
of
into
risks
those
there.
risks with the vaccine as well. So
What
you know
risks
what?
do you get in with the vaccine compared to COVID?
Blood clots, heart conditions, myocarditis, very
All
serious.
of these things happen with COVID. Myocarditis is actually more common in people with COVID than with people that get vaccinated.
No, that's not true, and it's more severe in people who are vaccinated.
You're
People are
making things
young
up.
people are,
You are
no,
making
I'm
things
not
up.
making things
You
up.
can look at
No, I'm not.
how long people spend in the hospital. You can look at the even the what's the database that you guys really like? The one where
There's
VAERS, yeah. You can look at VAERS. The majority of those cases about myocarditis were super minimal and minor and went away in like a day and never even required any medical attention. They've done full
Sorry, I mean,
analyzing of these
I don't
things.
have
noted that
the
I am
stuff
an
in front of
ape
me,
and I should go F myself.
I can't entirely respond to that. But
Okay, well,
you know, I'll look it up. But I don't. I mean, the fact that there were young people having heart attacks, like that was like a very, very serious issue.
when?
As soon as the vaccine rolled out, you see all
Wait, do you
this
mean all
footage,
the people like the
athletes
younger people, like the
collapsing and-
athletes and stuff?
Yes.
No, this is BS. The only reason that this seems like a thing is because people are spreading the clips in the news. You can look it up before the vaccine, before COVID, before all of this. Cardiac arrest is the leading cause of death amongst young athletes. It is a common
there
thing
was
that
a
happens.
spike in the incidence
No,
of
it's
it.
not.
There
It's
was a
not
spike in
spiking.
the
This is
incidence
wrong.
of it after
No, it's not.
In
There are
2021, there was a spike in the incidence of heart attacks among young athletes. Yes, there was.
I would have to see those numbers, because what I've seen is the complete opposite, which found that actually they were even higher prior to COVID.
No,
There are
no,
databases, sports agencies that track these things. Particularly, there has not been a massive surge of like young people just suddenly dropping dead. They're always
Yes, there
athletes. No,
absolutely
they're
has.
always
There absolutely has.
athletes, and it always happens. It happens more frequently because that's the leading cause of death amongst young athletes.
Yeah,
Before
but
COVID.
like I said, yeah, before COVID, I agree with you. But why did the incidence? Why did the incidence of it expand so much?
You need to give me something to demonstrate that,
Yeah,
because
all right,
otherwise I
all
just
right.
don't believe you.
Okay, fine. 2021 incidence of cardiac arrest athlete.
What did you type in exactly?
I typed in 2021 incidence of cardiac arrest athletes.
Okay. I'm looking it up and seeing a bunch of fact check things saying it's false. So that's probably why you're not reading it.
Well, no, I mean, I'm reading National Institutes of Health.
No surge in athlete deaths, contrary to widespread anti-vaccine claims.
I need like a chart.
There is no uptick in sudden cardiac arrest or death in athletes due to COVID-19 or from COVID vaccinations. This is total misinformation. Dr. Jonathan Drenzer told us in an emailed statement. Drenzer is the director of the UW Medicine Center for Sports Cardiology at the University of Washington, editor-in-chief of the British Journal of Sports Medicine, and a team physician for the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, and what studies are taking this on?
Okay. More than 2,000 children and adolescents in the U.S. die from sudden cardiac arrest every year, according to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and 2/3 of the deaths occurred during exercise or activity. Drenzer said his center monitors, quote, all cases and all causes. 20 through 2021, it shows that 21 athletes died while playing their sport that year. 21 died that year from playing their sports. COVID-19 vaccines were available to everyone 16 and over in the U.S. by April 2021. So the overlap between the period covered by the report was small. We reached out to find more info. The center reported 19 deaths in 2019 through 2020, 25 deaths in 2018 through 19, and 21 deaths in 2017 through 18. So
and how many in 2021?
From 2020 to 2021, early in 2021, was only 21.
And then 2021, 2022, do they have the data on that?
We reached out to the center to find out. The center's director told us so far the numbers are the same, and it's fewer than we captured in 2018 to 2019, from 2021 to 2022.
I think we need to look at something that compares the entire year, because that sounds like a study that was happening at the time.
This sounds like a center that specifically catalogs this. The National Center for Catastrophic Sport Injury Research catalogs injuries for high school and college athletes, and its most recent report covers the 2020 through 2021 school year. So
right, where there were no vaccines 2020 through 2021.
I'm sorry. That's one of the most recent ones, but they reached out and have updated information as well.
Right. That's what I'm saying is, like, if we're going to talk about the vaccine, it has to be 2021 after June-ish.
From 2021 to 2022, the numbers are the same, and it's fewer than 2019 to 2019, or 2018 to 2019.
Hold on. I'm pulling something up. Athlete deaths. This is medrxiv.org. It says athlete deaths during the COVID-19 vaccination campaign, contextualization of online information. Okay. The list contained 1653 entries.
Honestly, if you want to come back on, and we can always continue.
Yeah, we can do this, because I'm trying to read fast right now.
Well, I know I need to look more stuff up too, but it seems like, I don't know. I guess I have a hard time understanding your full contention. If you have a problem with the mandate side of things, which is fair, or if you have a problem with like the actual information regarding COVID and the vaccines.
I have a problem when people use things like, such and such says that you're this likely to die, therefore we have to do these mandates. Ultimately, Hunter, I don't take the vaccine if you want to take the vaccine. I'm not anti-vax in that, I am anti-vax, but I'm not in the sense of like, if you want to go get it, okay, best of luck to you. But to use any of that as a justification to lock people down, to require them to wear masks, and to require them to get a vaccine under threat of their job, under threat of anything like that, I'm vehemently against that. Mm-hmm. From a public policy standpoint, forget about the science for a minute. It's important, but just from a public policy standpoint, it's I have a major problem with that.
Yeah, I think that it would depend on who's enforcing it as well, if it's the government or if it's the private institution, because obviously a job has a right to enforce certain things like that. If they want you to wear a mask or something like that, I think that's acceptable. Um, but I think
I
that
think
if it were the
I think
government, it would depend. I think if it's the federal government, there's a problem. The state government does have the right constitutionally to enact mask mandates and vaccine mandates.
I don't think that's right. I don't
Yeah, they
think
do.
that's right at
The
all.
19th Amendment, the police powers. I'm sorry, I don't think it was the 19th Amendment. That was wrong again. I keep getting these
The
little,
19th Amendment was
I keep getting these little details just incorrect. I would have to look it up. This is what I mean, by the way, when I say I need to refresh my memory on this.
right.
I want to, was it the 8th Amendment? Hold on.
Well, no, I mean, my opinion on this is that there is no applicable to police power to mandate pharmaceutical
14th
intervention.
Amendment?
I don't think anybody has that right. That's a violation of bodily autonomy. So even if states have
No,
police
just
power,
like a
they
state
don't.
has a right to say that you need to wear clothing outside. It could be a violation of my bodily autonomy because I don't want to wear clothes, but the government tells
No,
me I
no, no, no.
have
But
to.
clothes are worn on your body. They are not injected inside of your body. Or even I would extend that to pills or any other type of thing that is ingested into your body. There's no right of a government to say you must ingest such a thing. You must inject such a thing into your body.
Probably not to the most extreme sense, like being forced against your will, like kicking and screaming while they give you a shot. But as
Hmm.
far as like, in order to participate in the public space, you need to be vaccinated against a virus. That is, yes, within the state government's rights. The federal government cannot do that. The state government can. I think
I
it's
don't.
the 10th Amendment.
Well, I know what I understand that states with the police powers and all rights not given to the federal
They've done
government.
this
Whatever.
before. Even George Washington was in favor of vaccine mandates.
What for smallpox?
I believe it was. Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, they didn't
Yeah,
have vaccines quite the same then, but he was in favor of mandating it. Every aspect that he had in the military, at least, where he had control, he mandated it. And there were letters too where he talked about how he would mandate vaccines for